Hello and welcome to Inside 10's football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia, joined by Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com and the Rivals Network. It was a star-studded day over in the studio where we were able to talk with offense coordinator Joey Halzle and then three big-time offensive weapons in quarterback Nico Iamaleava and wide receivers Bru McCoy and Dante Thornton. Let's start with the quarterback, though. I think that's what most people want to hear about. So what are your thoughts on what Nico had to say?
Yeah, just, obviously a guy. First time we've talked to him since the spring, I believe. So, or media day, I guess. Media day. But just a guy that's continuing to be confident, but I think humble at the same time. A lot is expected of him, but definitely continues to carry himself as kind of that starter, that leader. Even though he hadn't played a lot of football here, but just kind of getting some insight from him about where he's at with this team right now. Some of the guys around him, the depth up front, the veteran leadership up front he's going to be playing with, the wide receiving core. I thought, just his what he had to say about Bru and their previous connection. Two guys that a lot's expected of them this year, but haven't played a lot of football together. You go back to last year with Bru having that injury, and then of course Nico not redshirting last year, not playing in that bowl game. But two guys you'd expect there to be a connection this year, and it'd be a kind of a favorite target of his given his experience and what he brings to the table in the offense. But two guys that seem pretty excited about playing with each other, and if been able to develop a connection, both being Southern California guys as well, and have familiarity with each other before they got here. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't played a lot of football with a lot of guys on this roster. Yeah. And you look at some of the wide receivers, maybe like a Chaz Nimrod or Caleb Webb, where they worked with each other kind of as that second string unit at times last year. But a good portion of the team is either new or were starters last year, so they were getting most of their reps with Joe Milton. So that was kind of the question, is how's that connection going to look? And from everything he said, from everything his teammates have said throughout all of fall camp, from everything Joey Halzle or Josh Heupel have said, it seems like he's meshed really easily and really well with this team. And even the offensive line, a group that's outside of Lance Hurd, a lot older than him, he still has a connection with them. Talked about how the kind of veteran leadership on that offensive line won't only help him like Joey Halzle said it would, but kind of helps the other younger offensive linemen that are on that roster that maybe will be blocking for him next year, considering a lot of these guys are out of eligibility after this season. So came to the podium, had a lot of poise, had a lot of confidence, you could tell. Kind of felt like QB1, I guess. Yeah. A difference from last year where maybe still a little more shy in those type of settings. He's a soft-spoken guy, yeah. but it felt like there was some confidence to him this time around. So good to see out of your starting quarterback. Let's talk about those wide receivers, though. Bru McCoy, Dante Thornton, what you got?
Yeah, I think Bru McCoy, when he got out here, early in fall camp, we were able to see him. Of course, we're only able to see so much, but still, you were kind of blown away by the progress he had made and how he was moving around and things like that. It was coming off that gruesome injury, the timetable he was given originally, and then you see him out here and you're like, he looks like a guy that could play week one. And, it was kind of nice to be able to get some insight on what that process was like for him. Joey Halzle talked about it as well. When these guys are kind of given a date when they're supposed to come back, the goal is to beat that date. And Bru seems like one of those guys that attacked it. Evidently he has, but, he talked about it being at the end of the spring ball last year when he was able to kind of move a little bit quicker. He realized he was a little bit ahead of schedule. And one thing I thought was interesting, we go back to that connection with him and Nico. He said that was kind of a motivator for him because they hadn't played together, really, and sitting there and watching Nico throw the ball around, I'm sure was tough for him to not be able to be involved in that. And he wanted to get back quicker so he could, link up with him on the field. And I think we're going to get to see that sooner than later, obviously, now with the way he looks.
Bru McCoy recovering from injury. So is Dante Thornton after going down against Missouri on a play where he caught a touchdown. He's had a season of recovery as well, and he talked about some of those same points where, you're attacking the weight room because you can't attack the practice field. Let's go to the weight room and try to recover that way. So he hit on a lot of the same points that Bru McCoy did, but he also talked about kind of the pieces around him at wide receiver and how they have a lot of depth there this year, and that's something that I think could play to an advantage for Bru McCoy, where maybe he doesn't have to get on the field and play 50 snaps a game right away because there's so much confidence in the other pieces. Well, that also could help Dante Thornton, where there's not as much maybe pressure to stay on the field for an entire football game because, as Joey Halzle said, they want to do a little bit of a rotation there and keep guys fresh. And Dante Thornton said, hey, squirrel Y goes down the field, catches a big play, he's out of gas. Maybe we can quickly plug in another receiver who can come in and do the same exact thing, and that could be a big deal for Tennessee's offense this year, is having so many different weapons, which is something that feels like last year maybe they didn't have. Especially it started to really show itself when Dante Thornton went down with injury, Bru McCoy went down with injury. You started to maybe get deeper on that depth chart than you felt comfortable with, and it maybe showed at times. Well, this year that just doesn't seem like the case, and talking to Dante, Bru, and Nico, they seem to agree. We'll wrap it up with some quick thoughts on Joey Halzle, though. What do you think about what he had to say?
Yeah, I know we've talked about it a couple times on here in fall camp. We've heard Heupel talk about it. Today we got a little bit more insight again on the in-helmet communication, and I thought that was interesting what Joey Halzle had to say about, giving us a little bit more details about the things that are going to be said there, and telling Nico, 4-down territory here, or if we don't get this, here's the next plan. We're going to settle for a field goal here if we don't get the first down. Those are things, obviously, a quarterback's going to probably naturally know when they get out there, but I thought it was interesting to kind of hear, what's going to be said to him, and maybe give that little bit of an extra advantage, in those situations, because when you're in that spot, it's a lot easier to say, hey, here's what we need to do when you're going into it, than when you're in, actually facing it. So I think that little extra voice there is going to, Joey Halzle said it too, that little extra voice about what the next steps are going to be on this play or in the red zone or whatever are going to be beneficial for them.
And I think that's going to be something that's different for really every team across college football, but for the way that Tennessee operates its offense and the pace that they play at, I feel like that's probably the right way to use it, is to still have the signals on the sideline for the individual players, so the receivers know what they're doing, the running backs, so everyone is on the same page play-wise, but then you have the green dot for Nico, and he can maybe take some of the pressure off his plate, where he's got so many responsibilities in terms of helping Cooper with pass protections and run block assignments, and then reading defenses. Well, now you have Joey Halzle or Josh Heupel, and they can say, hey, going for this yard or whatever it is, and just kind of make things easier for a young quarterback. I think the timing of that too really helps Nico, that it's his first year as a starter, second-year player, doesn't have a lot of experience, and he's able to kind of have that to his advantage as he goes into his redshirt freshman season. A lot of it all from us here, though, today inside Tennessee football's practice facility. Tomorrow is a defensive day. Tim Banks and some defensive players, including Keenan Peely, will meet with the media. So if you want to stay up to date as we count down to football season, just over a week from kickoff against Chattanooga, make sure you head over to VolReport.com, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Coverage, everything Tennessee athletics is over at VolReport.com. Links to everything you need is in the description. Thank you for watching.